Well, folks, come midnight tonight, the U.S. government will remove that COVID-19 immigration restriction known as Title 42. Migrants continue to gather on the U.S.-Mexico border in huge numbers, many hoping to get into America ahead of supposed tough new asylum rules that will effectively replace Title 42, something that had been in effect since March of 2020. But the question arises, under the Biden administration, illegal aliens have flooded into the U.S. via the southern border in record numbers. Will anything change come Friday morning? And with his thoughts on this matter, I'm joined now by Michael Yon, one of America's most experienced combat reporters and someone who has kept a keen eye on the Mexico-U.S. border these past 3 years. Welcome to the Ezra Levent Show, Michael.
Thank you, sir. In fact, I just got in from Panama. I was at the Darien Gap again. I spent a lot of time studying this issue in places like Panama, Colombia, Mexico. I mean, I physically go to these places and spend months at a time here in Texas, of course, Morocco, Greece, all across Europe, and Japan. I was just in Japan about a month or so ago as well, watching this same issue. And because you have to look at this on a global scale to grasp exactly what's going on and to understand the human osmotic pressure, that push and the pull of migration. Now, this Title 42 thing, on one level, it's a big deal. On another level, it's really nothing at all. And I'll explain both of those contrasting positions here. On the people are streaming across the border night and day already anyway, right? Many of them are being flown around the United States by our government, United States government, right? And so, I'm constantly up and down this border on all sides, again, from Panama all the way up. Panama is part of this flow. That's why I spend so much time down there. And so at this rate, actually, as of about 1 month ago, the instantaneous rate about 1 month ago was more than 400,000 per year were coming through Panama, the Darien Gap, right? Now, that rate now, I believe, is at least 500,000 and maybe more. It's unclear. I'll know in another few weeks when I go back down there. But and so why is the Darien Gap important? That's where people from more than 140 countries actually come through, all over Africa, Asia, all over South America, including Venezuela is just dumping out. Like right now, the Panamanian government told me about 3 weeks ago or so that 11%, 11% of the people in Panama now are new Venezuelans. I said, hold on, please repeat that. 11, repeat what you said. And she said 11%. So I said, okay, so you're telling me, what's this doing to Panama? And she said, it's destabilizing us, of course. And so that's just Panama. So it's destabilizing countries all up the chain. Now, this is what the World Economic Forum and CCP openly are trying to do. They don't hide it, actually. So we also have a lot of Chinese coming through, and the Chinese will tend to go to Quito. Well, actually, the Chinese have different methods of flowing in. One of the flows goes through Darien Gap. Another flow, they just fly to Cancun for vacations. After their vacation's over, they head on up. Where they meet with their snakeheads. Chinese call coyotes snakeheads. So if you're a Chinese talk about snakeheads, they're talking about coyotes. So they'll meet their coyotes in places like Cancun or in Mexico City or Tapachula or whatever. But let's go back down to Darien Gap. The Chinese who are on more of a budget, they'll pay closer to $30,000 to get into the United States. And they'll go through Quito, Ecuador. So they go through Quito, they go through Colombia. They'll take a bus. It takes about 50 hours. And so it's a 2-day bus ride. From Quito, Ecuador, they go to Nicocli, Colombia, right? And then from Nicocli, they get on a boat, which I've done this, and then they'll go for about an hour and a half to a place called Capargana in Colombia. And then from Capargana, where I've been, it's a very dangerous place. I don't like it. A lot of that's completely run by cartels, right?
Wow.
And so, but it's actually like a resort. So there's these nice hotels, and yeah, exactly. You're like, so it's like this little tiny sliver of Hawaii there in Colombia, tiny, like, I don't know, 10 or 20 nice hotels. And then from there, they go into the jungle, right? And then I only stayed there for about 3 days. and I thought I was overstaying. I could feel the danger. Something was wrong, so I left immediately. So then I flew over to Panama on one trip, and I started intercepting the migrants on the other side. And so, for instance, now I go to Panama pretty often. I've spent months and months down there in the jungle with the Indians, the Imbra Indians and the Kuna Indians and the Wunan Indians, intercepting the aliens as they come through. Now, that's where the United States government is helping with that flow. We are paying for that flow. We have helped build the camps. I mean, serious camps. And I've droned those. They're on my Twitter. You can see on if you scroll down or just look at, Panama videos on my Twitter, you'll see, droning some of these camps that we're paying for. The United States government money, taxpayer money, actually pays for pre-rape kits. These are kits that are handed out by an organization called OIM or IOM, depending on your language, Organization for Immigration and Migration. They're part of the UN, right?
But
it's
wait a
paid for
minute, Michael,
by US.
if I can interject, because there's something that doesn't make sense here to me. Are you saying that the U.S. government is funding a conduit that is bringing illegal aliens to the ultimate finish line, which is U.S. soil? Is that what's actually going on? And if so, what is the unspoken agenda here?
It's a spoken agenda. It's not unspoken. They clearly are doing a replacement strategy with the weaponization of migration here. Right? The weaponization of migration is an old war tactic. It's been done many. I saw it in Tibet when I was in Tibet. I saw it in Hong Kong before I got kicked out of Hong Kong. The mainland Chinese were sending in mainlanders to Hong Kong for many years, and they would just send them every day, just drip. And they took over the schools. They took over the bureaucracy and the political force. And finally, anyway, you saw a lot of fighting in 2019 and 20. I was there until I got kicked out in 2020. That's Hong Kong. So that's a weaponization of migration, a replacement sort of strategy. And anyway, back to the United States.
Michael,
U.S. government.
If I may, when you say the weaponization of migration is the ultimate goal, then, well, let's take the state of Texas, a red state, is the ultimate goal to literally change the demographics, the unofficial deal with the Biden administration being, just remember, every 4 years, vote Team Blue. We're the people that got you in here. And of course, if a state like Texas were to flip from red to blue, well, maybe the Democrats are in power forever. Is that what's going on?
Short-term goal. That's way below their actual goal. Back to Panama and how we're paying for this. The United States government, Mayorkas went down there in April of this year. I was there when he went. He went there with the Southcom commanding general and the U.S. Ambassador to Panama, all incredibly woke, by the way, and then reaffirmed what we're doing down there. Now, he was there also the last April in 2022. I was physically present when he landed right in front of me in 4 Black Hawk helicopters, and they expanded the camps since then. The camps have more than doubled in size in Panama from today. I had full access to the camps in Panama, by the way. Those have more than doubled in size from this year to April of 2022. I've got drone footage from 2022 and drone footage that's a few weeks old, and you can see they've more than doubled in size. One of them, I would say, is even tripled in size, right? And the flows are just, you saw Mayorkas say recently that we're going to stop the flow through Panama. Nonsense. I've got that place stitched up. You cannot go through any of those places in Panama without me knowing about it immediately. I'll know about it within hours. So I see that I get daily updates. I know that the flows are increasing. And then I go down there myself and audit.
That was an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show. I'm Ezra Levant. Every weekday, I do a monologue about the topic of the day. Then I interview a fascinating guest either in studio or via Skype. And then I read your mail, whether it's fan mail or hate mail, which is sometimes even more interesting. This is on our premium service, though, called Rebel News Plus. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. It's $8 a month or less if you buy a whole year in advance. You get my show every weeknight, plus Sheila Gunn Reid's show every week. It's called The Gun Show. It's pretty amazing. You know, we rely on you because we do not take a dime from the government. In Canada, that makes us almost unique. So please help us out and help yourself to some great journalism at rebelnewsplus.com.